Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening, located in Zone 6B in the lovely state of New Jersey. And today I want to share with you how to manage your cover crops prior to you planting your spring garden for 2020. So here we have a good example of winter rye growing, and I planted this on October 19th of last year. Now there's wood chip pathways on both sides, and the bed's about, say, 5 feet wide and about 50 feet long. So some of the techniques I'm going to explain to you is just for winter cover crops going into your spring season, like I mentioned before. This is not for your summer cover crops because that's going to do a lot more, let's say, green material on top. Now this is the first week of February 2020. Now you can see here that the cover crop of winter rye, just of winter rye, didn't grow that much this year so far because we got an early season of last year going into winter. When I planted it up, it got really cold really quick and it kind of stunted it. That's what happens every so often to your cover crops. The main question I'm asked all the time about my cover crops, when do I, let's say, terminate them or work them into the soil? Number one, you never want to work them into the soil. You don't want to ever till them in. You're actually going backwards. You're doing something that all that work you created prior to this, you're actually destroying by tilling it into the soil. You just want to cut the cover crop at the soil level. You never want to till it in, and I'll show you later in the video why. And just to give you a little bit of a tip now is that all that root structure in the ground is so important. Those roots of the winter rye are there to be beneficial to your next plants. They're not going to slow down or stop growth of your new plants or take away nutrients from them. So let's start off with another question I receive all the time. When do I terminate the cover crop prior to planting seeds in the ground? Now, planting seeds in the ground is going to be different than planting a transplant like a tomato plant that you grew in either a tray or a pot. Now, back to planting seeds in the ground. You want to terminate the winter rye on the left-hand side, which I'm going to do, about 30 days prior to planting seeds directly into the ground. So how do we do that? What we look for is how tall is our winter rye or is our cover crop. If it's less than, let's say, 2 or 3 inches tall, we can just cover it immediately with some leaf mold or leaves on top, and that will kill off the cover crop 30 days in advance prior to you direct seeding directly into it. Let's say that cover crop that you're growing is, say, 7 to 8 inches tall. You have to cut that down to soil level so you see that bare soil on top. With any method that you choose that is easiest for you. You can mow it down, you can use a hedge trimmer or anything you want to do, a weed whacker, or anything else that you might have on your farm or in your backyard garden. Now that will get it down to soil level, and then you can cover it again with your leaves, or you can cover it again with your cardboard, or wood planking is also available too. So now let's say you're going to transplant something directly into the cover crop. Now what you can do now with that is to take, let's say you're going to dig your hole. We're going to take a sample here, like so. Let's say we're going to plant a tomato transplant in here, or a cucumber or a squash. Now we're going to take this out of the ground, like so. Now that we have our, let's say, a plug out of the ground, and now we can transplant our tomato plant in there or anything that we have potted up. Now you can do that the day of. Now just go back around that area and you can put leaf mold, or again anything around that area, to kill off the cover crop around it, because those roots aren't going to hurt the plant as much as direct seeding. The reason for this is because the roots of the plant are already established and will grow right in between the other roots that are in there that are dying off slowly the day of that you're planting your transplant right in the ground and the mulch around it. So here's a very good example why you want to grow a cover crop instead of just using mulch on top of your soil over winter. Now here actually is the top of the soil, you can see, but right down below here you can see these very fine roots coming out. Now let's see if I can get a little bit closer here. Now here they are, you can see here and here. And this is about, let's say, 5 to 6 inches deep, and it's even a little bit deeper below here on the very bottom. So I'm going to say they went down at least 5 to 7 inches into the soil. Now they're creating soil aggregates. Now you're going to get aggregates forming when you have mulch on top, but it's only going to be let's say, to this level here because of the winter. The winter, what it's doing is anything above freezing, only the soil microbes work in the soil. So most of the time you have freezing weather and your roots or your microbes won't go down deeper in the soil and will not be functioning because it will be cold. All these roots are coming out around 5 to 7 inches in the ground. That means it's bringing in, letting air down there and water. The microbes that are in your soil do not like to work in the wintertime. They only work when the temperatures are above freezing. But again, as you notice, when you go deeper into the soil, it's less frozen, so those microbes would like to work, and they have the root structure around there bringing food to them and allowing them to build soil better for you over winter. There's nothing wrong with mulching your garden, leaving it alone that way. And that's good, but if you want great or better, you should plant a cover crop so you can get that depth of the root system. Now this is actually a poor example of that because we had a quick early freeze this year and the roots didn't go down that far. Now I've had it where this top is the same length here and those roots will go down at least 1 foot or 2 feet into the ground, opening up that soil. Now if you have hard clay soil, guess what? All that soil is nice and moist over the winter time, so those roots can squeeze by that hard pan that you have down there and get past all that deeper in the ground for a longer period of time because your ground is moist. That's a problem when you start having droughts or lack of water in your garden. The microbes aren't working as well because there's not enough moisture in the ground and there's not enough moisture from the bottom to be pulled up to them. So I moved over to another part of the garden where I have just leaf mold sitting on top of the soil. Now I want to show you the difference between the soil underneath leaf mold and compared to, say, a cover crop in the ground. Now we're just going to move some of this away here. This is about, I'm going to say 6 to 7 inches thick here. Now let's go in the ground like so. Take a nice sample out like the other one. Okay, there's our sample, like so. Now here's showing a great example of what's going on. The one on the left is, again, that was underneath our leaf mold over the last, say, from October 19th of last year. And this is the one we grew our cover crop in. That's from October 19th of last year also too. And you can see the noticeable difference here. But also what's nice about this is that you can see how when you don't have root structure in here, you see how this is just a straight line or cracking across like so, or this piece here, because that soil here is compact. And you can tell by just the it's almost like slate or rock chipping away, and those roots don't penetrate in the ground to make that soil a little bit better for you. And here's another example. See how flat it is on top again, like so? It's just almost like a sheared edge there because those roots didn't go across into that compact soil layer, and it's just leaving that there all winter long. Now it's not bad. Can you still garden in this? Of course you can. And that's with the leaf mold on top. But I'm just saying, to get a better soil in the future for yourselves and also to grow mycorrhizal fungi. Now there's all fungi in both soils here, but the one that's going to help your plant out to associate it with another plant is going to be the mycorrhizal fungi. And that needs a living root in the ground like so. Now you can see when I pull apart here, it's not that broken, let's say, slate looking type of soil. It's all nice and formed aggregates that are through this soil. And it's beautiful, it's loamy, and you don't have to till in this because it's already tilled for you. And number two is that when I said before in the video, and early in the video, when you have these, let's say, cover crops on top, you don't have to till the soil because all this organic matter of the roots that are going to be dying off slowly in the next 30 days is more organic matter than sometimes you even have on top of your soil because those roots reach deep in the ground, like so. and that's going to allow worms to come in, and worms love this loamy soil because they can move around nicely. They can eat those dead roots, they can eat the foliage on top or the mulch on top, and you're going to have that beautiful soil because they're going to leave behind those worm castings. I hope I gave you some good information about cover cropping and when to terminate it prior to your gardening season. Now, if you have any questions, please write them below, because either I'll make another video of it or answer your question, because I want you to be confident in knowing what to do with your cover crop prior to seeding it or transplanting directly into it. Again, any question is very important. So leave those questions in the comments below. Love to hear from you all, and I thank you very much for watching today's video. If you can, please like and share it when at your convenience, and enjoy gardening, and I'll be shortly with you with another video.